Hello and welcome. You're watching Best of the Bets. My name's Christina Nicolaides. We're looking at the second leg of the last 16 of the Champions League. I have our regular guests. I've got Sam Diamond, who is our football expert and editor of bestofthebets.com, and Gareth Walker, who is our bookie extraordinaire from Heaven Bet. Thank you for being with me once again. We are looking at the first game. We're looking at Barcelona versus AC Milan. And let's not forget, first leg finished 2-0 to AC Milan. What a fantastic game.
Milan are now favourites to qualify from this tie. To win in 90 minutes, Barcelona are 1.2. The draw is 6.8 and Milan are 12 to win in 90 minutes. The bet that maybe a lot of people will be latching onto here is Barcelona to qualify, which is even money. Any interest, Sam?
To be honest, in the build-up, it might not have been that unexpected because they've been getting by in the league, but they haven't been convincing by any stretch of the imagination, and they've been very slack at the back, which they haven't been. I think it's the last 7 games now that they've conceded goals in. So,
a very different Barcelona to the start of La Liga.
Absolutely, and I don't know if obviously Tito Villanova is absent again,
which is understandable, but there does seem to be a lack of leadership.
Yeah, it's just season catching up with them possibly, but they are struggling. But a great result for Milan nonetheless. I think we shouldn't sort of do them any disservice. They were
well
fantastic.
Done to the ex-Portsmouth players.
Absolutely.
And to the Scottish arbiter that ignored the handball in the build-up to the first goal.
Milan have put themselves in a great position now to qualify from a tie that no one really gave them a chance.
I really like Milan to do it now.
If they were to go to the Nou Camp and score, as they have done on their 2 trips to the Nou Camp last year, one of those games was inside 22 seconds, then Barcelona are going to have to come out and score 4 times. And we know they have got the players to do such a thing, but
if we saw that if Messi has a bad game, then Barcelona as a team, it just all crumbles.
It was very notable that Messi didn't have one shot on target in the game at the San Siro, and it's not often that happens. So Milan did very well to sort of cope with both him and the likes of Iniesta and Xavi. They've given themselves such a good opportunity. I don't think they're going to pass it up, and I think the 1.8 about Milan qualifying now with this 2-goal lead and a clean sheet at home represents very good value.
Gareth?
Milan will be absolutely devastated if they don't qualify from here. 2-0 at home, no away goals for Barcelona, and let's not forget that away goals are taken into account at 90 minutes. So 3-1 to Barcelona, Milan go straight through. No extra time for Barcelona to get the extra goal to make a 3-goal margin. So the outright betting wide open as a result of this, and I think Barcelona are going to be out. I don't see how they can get through this. However brilliant and however many times things have happened fantastically on the field for Barcelona, Milan, who are really on a fantastic run in Serie A, really peaking while Barcelona aren't at their peak, and I think that Barcelona, I can't see how they can get a score that'll be good enough to get them through.
OK, we're going to look at Schalke versus Galatasaray next. The first leg, it did finish Galatasaray 1, Schalke 1, and full 90 minutes from Didier Drogba.
Yeah, it was a bit of a pudding of a pitch, and there were a couple of puddings running around the midfield for Galatasaray, unfortunately, for those of us that have backed them. 90-minute prices here, Schalke 1.4, Galatasaray 4.9, and the draw 3.8.
It was a good draw for Schalke, and they remain undefeated in this season's Champions League, despite a lot of their shortcomings in the Bundesliga. But I do wonder if there'll be a little bit of complacency set in now. They feel they've got the draw away from home and they can do the job now back in Gelsenkirchen. But I'm not convinced they will. They've been shown up on home a couple of times recently, most notably by bottom of the table Greuther Fürth in the league, and so I don't think Galatasaray should have any fears about going there, considering some of the performances they put in this season. It was disappointing. I expected them, once they took the lead, to go on and put the game, if not the tie, to bed. It didn't materialise, but they've got some big players there now, and I think Yilmaz is a great talent up front. So they'll trouble Schalke, and I think at prices bigger than what they were before the first leg to qualify at 3, Galatasaray look a bet for me.
Gareth?
Yeah, I'm going to keep the faith with Galatasaray, actually. I liked them before the first leg, and it was disappointing the first leg. Schalke, German league form, atrocious, but Galatasaray weren't as as aggressive, weren't as intimidating as I was expecting, really, as I was hoping. Maybe the goal almost seemed silly, but after Galatasaray scored, they took the foot off the gas a little bit.
Yeah.
But Galatasaray had their absolute backs to the wall absolutely in the group stage, where they took 1 point from the first 3 games and had to win 3 consecutive games to get through. So they've got previous for qualifying from stickier situations than this.
Yeah.
So I'm going to keep the faith with Galatasaray. Hopefully my outright on them still got a chance. And many thanks to the tweeter that congratulated me and made me put more on.
I hate to break this to you. You didn't say put more on. He actually called you a moron for that bet.
Really?
But, yes. Yeah.
That's a bit harsh. I've still got hope for that. But the Galatasaray to qualify at 3, I like. And Galatasaray 4.9 to win in 90 minutes. Certainly wouldn't rule them out.
Okay. Now, the next tie, what can we say? Bayern Munich versus Arsenal. First leg at the Emirates. Disappointing. Arsenal won. Bayern Munich 3. Well, disappointing for the Arsenal fans.
What I couldn't understand is the surprise after the game. This is essentially a mismatch. Bayern Munich, one of the best teams in Europe, top 3 definitely, potentially the second best team in Europe you could make a case for. I don't actually think they played very well at the Emirates and still won easily against a team that, well, maybe we still regard them as top 8 in England, but they're certainly not top 8 in Europe. So to go out in the last 16 of the Champions League is about where you'd expect Arsenal to go out, really. Yeah. Prices for this game, Bayern Munich are 1.35, Arsenal 9.1, and the draw's 5.1.
Let's not forget, I mean, Bayern Munich have reinforced themselves. They had a great team anyway, but when they lost the Champions League final to Chelsea, they've reinforced their team even further. So Arsenal don't stand a chance.
Absolutely. I think Bayern Munich, many people say now Bayern Munich are the second best team in Europe. I think on current form they're the best team in Europe. Yeah. They, as Gareth said, they didn't play particularly well, yet they've come away with a comfortable lead. I thought they started quite well and got into a lead, but Arsenal did have a go in the second half. That was to be expected with being the home side, and had a couple of half chances to equalise before Mandzukic put the tie to bed. But I thought what was quite interesting was the fact that we talked up all these Bayern Munich clean sheets, and yet they let in one of the softest goals I've seen this season.
Yeah.
But that's very much Manuel Neuer's want, because I remember him having a unbelievable performance for Schalke against Manchester United in the Champions League, I think 2 seasons ago. And suddenly he was being talked up as probably the best goalkeeper in Europe, and had an absolute stinker in the second leg. So it's what he's capable of, as I suppose most top-class goalkeepers are.
I can't see him letting in any goals at home.
I think this will revert to type now. I think Bayern will keep that clean sheet.
Yeah, me too.
The game's pretty much up for Arsenal. So I think I'm looking at I think it's what I tipped up in the first leg, but I'll be looking for a 2-0 Bayern scoreline. Just
2-0, yeah, which
run-of-the-mill win.
Which is 5.3. For Arsenal fans wanting to be optimistic, one of the finest moments in Arsenal's history, 1989, had to go to Fortress Anfield and win by 2 goals. Everyone said it was impossible. Haven't got a prayer, Arsenal, I believe, on the back of a certain newspaper, and they went and did it. The bad news is for them, 2-0 isn't going to be enough this time around. They need to score 3 in 90 minutes.
It's not up for grabs now.
It's tough. 3-0 for the optimist is 67. That's 3-0 to Arsenal, I should say. I think, unfortunately, more likely 3-0 Bayern Munich, which is 8. I think the Bayern Munich fans that were singing "Are You Augsburg" in disguise at Arsenal pretty much summed up the situation there. It's sad times, but it comes back, and I've ranted about it many times. But the problem Arsenal have is they shouldn't be playing Bayern Munich in this match. They should have sent a stronger team to Greece, got themselves an easier last 16 tie, and then they would have had chances. Their fate was sealed basically when they were paired with Bayern Munich, who are looking more and more likely to get to Wembley, and we know German teams like playing at Wembley. They look very potential winners to me.
Right, let's find out what Mike Holden has to say about this particular game.
Bayern Munich were very impressive in the manner that they dismantled Arsenal in the opening game at the Emirates. But I think we'll see a different Bayern Munich this time around. I think there'll be a lot more discipline on show. I don't think there's any emphasis on them to go after Arsenal at all. So I'm expecting a low-scoring encounter, and I think under 2.5 goals is the way to play the return game. I think for Arsenal, I don't really think they possess the quality to hurt Bayern and to get back into the tie, basically. But for Bayern, it's a case of, keeping your discipline and just being sensible. But the manner that they beat them in the first game means it kind of gives them the luxury that they don't have to entertain so much. They don't have to sort of put on a show for their own supporters. The hard work's been done now. So I can't see anything other than a low-scoring return leg myself.
OK, Gareth, so we've heard what Mike's had to say, under 2.5 goals.
Yeah, he's getting a shared odds against, actually, 2.05. I'm not sure if that price will last, because it looks pretty tasty. But yeah, Bayern very strong defensively. I see why he's looking at that.
OK, we're going to move on to our final game, Malaga versus Porto in the first leg. Porto did win 1-0, and we're moving on to Malaga versus Porto. What do we think for the second leg?
They did win 1-0, but perhaps not quite as convincingly as they should have done, because
I look nervous.
Well, I had one eye on this game, I must admit, while I was watching Bayern versus Arsenal. But every time I looked at the screen, it was Porto, fully camped in the Malaga half, and corner after corner, and didn't really sort of take full advantage of all their possession. So Malaga are still in with a chance. They haven't got an away goal, but they've sort of beaten enough teams at La Rosaleda this year. So this tie is very much in the balance. The problem I think Malaga have is I think Porto can go there and score. And if they were to do that, then Malaga have to get free on the night. They're capable of doing it, but it's a big ask, and we know how Porto like a clean sheet. We've seen that sort of on numerous times, despite the question marks over the quality of the team in the Portuguese league. So this is a tough one to call. I'm still not fully sure where I'm going with this one. Maybe Gareth can convince me.
Well, I like Porto here. I think that
I like Porto to qualify.
They're just so strong defensively, Porto, that you can imagine Malaga, fully going at them. But once Porto nick one goal, the task just becomes so difficult for Malaga. They'll need to score 3. If Porto nick one, they're going to need to score 3, obviously, with the away goals rule. And I just don't see Porto conceding 3, so it'll be 0-0 for a while. The longer it stays 0-0, the more Malaga will have to push forward, and then Porto will be masters at picking them off on the break.
The way I like to play this game would be 0-0 half-time, Porto to win full-time.
You can play it so you're covering any draw at half-time, and then Porto to win full-time. That's priced at 6, and I think that's a shrewd way of going. I think it will be fairly tight in the first half. Maybe Porto to nick the game 2-1, which is priced at 9.4. Both teams to score option here, around the 1.9 mark, may well be of interest. These second legs are always more open, more goals than the first legs, which are notoriously cagey in a lot of cases. Anyone interested in Malaga to qualify? 3.4 is the price for them to turn it around and get through.
And Porto to qualify?
Porto to qualify, 1.3. Very strong favourites to do so. Wouldn't put anyone off a little nibble on Porto for the outright, actually. It's going to be an exciting quarter-final draw, real variety and talent there. So with the right draw, Porto could get through semis, even final. You never know.
I think Gareth makes a good point there about second legs often be a lot more open than the first. I mean, I backed both teams to score in the first leg and never really had a sniff. I don't really remember Malaga having a good chance. But I can see this one panning out with goals, because I think Milan will have to commit more and more men forward, and that does leave them susceptible to the counter-attack. And when you've got players, who can sort of dictate play and pick a pass like João Moutinho, and then you've got someone in such great goal-scoring form as Jackson Martinez, then there's always a chance of the away team scoring. So I like both teams to score, and I think there'll be goals. OK, so what about best bet?
I'm going to go for my favourite puddings, Galatasaray, 4.9 to win in Schalke.
Well, I don't often like to back an odds-on shot, but I think sometimes they come along where they still represent brilliant value, and I think Milan to qualify with a 2-0 lead and no away goal conceded at 1.8 is a cracking bet.
And I'm going to go for draw half-time, Porto full-time.
Which is priced at 6, and you could be onto a winner there.
Remember, for you to place your bet on the Champions League and more sporting action, then head to our website, www.heavenbet.com. Do tweet us at Best of the Bets, and we will read out the best tweets. And you can watch this show back on our website, www.bestofthebets.com. Watch out for our Champions League special quarter-final show. We'll see you very soon. Bye-bye.